Good evening and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment. It is Thursday, July the 18th, 2024, 6:45, and I will call this meeting to order. Remind members of the committee of any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. None. Section 3, adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting. They have been circulated. That's the June 6th meeting. If there are no errors or omissions, I would entertain a mover and seconder for the following. That the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment meeting held June the 6th, 2024 be approved as presented. Moved by Committee Member Weisler. Second by Committee Member Chilcott. All in favor? That's carried. Section 4, application. We are dealing with minor variance application A-1124, Deconic, 35 Union Street. Purpose of this variance is to grant relief from the following provisions of zoning bylaw. Section 10.11.c. Maximum floor area to permit a new accessory structure floor area of 27.8 square meters, 300 square feet, for the purpose of a covered picnic area with a solar panel roof assembly, in addition to the existing shed floor area of 9.2 square meters, 100 square feet, and existing detached garage floor area of 98.7 square meters, that's 1,052 square feet, for a combined accessory floor area of 136 square meters, 1,462.7 square feet. Whereas 108 square meters or 1,162 square feet is the permitted maximum as a result of a previously approved minor variance application A-1121. The subject property is located at 35 Union Street, west side, south of Ann Street in the village of Vienna. The effect of this variance will be to permit an increased accessory building maximum floor area to facilitate the development of a new accessory structure for the purpose of a covered picnic area with a solar panel roof assembly on the subject property. At this point, we will entertain the staff presentation. That's report DS 5224 by Margaret Underhill, Secretary Treasurer, regarding minor variance A-1124, Deconic 35 Union Street. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee. So the report before you is dealing with a minor variance application for 35 Union Street, as already noted. The Committee of Adjustment must be satisfied that the application meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act, Section 45(1) for a minor variance to the zoning bylaw. The planner's memorandum dated July the 10th outlines the full analysis of the 4 tests and the variances required for compliance. Staff and planner concur the application meets the criteria to permit the placement of a new accessory structure for the purpose of a covered picnic area with a solar panel roof assembly, in addition to the existing shed floor area and an existing detached garage for a combined accessory floor area of 136 square meters. Whereas already noted, 108 square meters is the permitted maximum. The owners went through a previous minor variance application, A18/21, and it was granted on September 2nd of 2021. That was to recognize the oversized existing garage. So at this time, they're asking for permission. They are looking to build, as already stated. They want to put in a picnic area and use a solar panel roof assembly over top. So this is why we are considering a minor variance for an increased floor area for accessory buildings. And I leave it with you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Did you mention that the applicant was virtual tonight?
Yes, he is online if you would like to speak.
If applicant would like to speak, this is his opportunity. Yeah. Mr. Deconic, if you'd like to speak to this application, this is a good opportunity for you to do so.
Oh, sorry. Hello. No, I would just like to thank you everyone for the work and presenting this proposal. That's all.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Any public submissions, Mark?
There are none.
Time for the committee discussion. Any questions? Any discussion? Mark, did anyone calculate the total lot coverage after this was, if this is approved
Calculate the total lot coverage.
by structures?
Yeah, the planner did that and there was no reason to address.
Okay, thank you. Don't see any questions or any concerns, so let's move on with the decision then. That the Committee of Adjustment Secretary Treasurer's Report DS 5224 regarding the Deconic minor variance be received, and that the Committee of Adjustment considered all written and oral submissions received on this application, the effect of which helped the committee to make an informed decision. And whereas the committee agrees that the proposed variance as presented meets section 45(1)(1) of the Planning Act and is considered minor. Therefore, application A-1124 submitted by Jeff and Dana DeConick pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act for a minor variance is granted to allow relief from municipality of Banff zoning bylaw number Z456, 2003, specifically section 10.11C. Maximum floor area to permit a new accessory structure floor area of 27.8 square meters, 300 square feet, for the purpose of a covered picnic area with a solar panel roof assembly, in addition to the existing shed floor area of 9.2 square meters, 100 square feet, and existing detached garage floor area of 98.7 square meters, or 1,062 square feet, for a combined accessory floor area of 136.0 square meters, or 1,462.7 square feet, whereas 108.0 square meters, or 1,162 square feet is the permitted maximum as a result of a previously approved minor variance application A-1821, granted on September 2nd, 2021. Do we have a committee member who's willing to move and second that? Committee member Chilcott will move, committee member Froese will second. All in favor? That is carried. Moves us to the adjournment motion. That the Committee of Adjustment meeting for consideration of minor variance application A-1124 be adjourned at 6:53 PM. And that in accordance with the regulations of the Planning Act, notices of decision be circulated by the Secretary Treasurer accordingly. Mover and seconder. Committee member Froese, committee member Weiser, second. All in favor? Carried. We are adjourned. Good evening, everyone. It is 7 PM and I will call this regular council session to order. It is for Thursday, July the 18th, 2024. Felt my copy already. That's a good sign. Good sign. Okay, I'll remind members of any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none. We do not have any items added to the agenda this evening, I trust.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any announcements for this evening? Councilor Chilcott.
Thank you. The Bayham Historical Society is planning their car show this weekend at the Vienna Park, and all are invited to attend. I believe it starts at 11 till 5.
I understand it'll be an excellent chicken dinner.
Yeah, the mayor will be cooking the chicken, so attend at your own risk.
Actually, I'll just be assisting. Any other announcements? Thomas, please.
Just a quick reminder, Mr. Mayor, that our offices will be closed on Monday, August the 5th, in observation of Civic Holiday Monday.
We just had an office closure. Oh, my God. Not convenient. Okay, I might as well throw one in there as well. This is using my time here and reach into the county. The Warden's Charity Golf Tournament is scheduled for Monday, August the 26th, 2024. If you haven't seen it and you want to participate, it'll be at Iron Creek this year. Cost is $120 for registration. Cheaper than last year. Okay. We have no presentations or delegations this evening, which brings us to the adoptions of the minutes of the previous meetings, which include the regular meeting of council held June the 20th, 2024, and the statutory planning meeting held June the 20th, 2024. Everyone's had opportunity to peruse those minutes. If there are no errors or omissions, we'll entertain a mover and seconder for the following. That the minutes of the regular meeting of council and statutory planning meeting held June the 20th, 2024 be approved as presented. Moved by Deputy Mayor Weisler and seconded by Councilor Chilcott. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Jumping down to section 11, physical services and emergency services, 11.2 reports to council. We have report BL 0624 by Stephen Miller, bylaw enforcement officer, regarding the 2024 bylaw enforcement services mid-year report. Stephen, I seen was virtual.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, member of council. Madam Clerk, I believe my video can turn on.
Incognito this evening.
There we go. Thank you. Good evening, and good evening, your worship and members of council, and through your worship. Before you is the 2024 bylaw enforcement mid-year report, which is up to date as of June 30th, 2024. There were 79 total complaints received for bylaw enforcement matters and action by bylaw enforcement from January to the end of June 2024, with an additional 16 investigations which were carried over from 2023 to 2024. 91% of those complaints were actioned within 5 business days, which is an increase of 17% over 2023. The average number of days from complaint to initial response was 3 days, with the vast majority of complaints being actioned within 1 day. The average number of days from initial response to resolution was 9 days, with the majority of complaints being resolved within 1 day of bylaw enforcement attending. For complaints by geographic area, the majority of complaints resulted from Ward 1, being Port Burwell and Vienna. This trend is consistent with 2023 statistics. Complaints by subject matter also remain consistent with 2023, with the vast majority being for zoning and lot maintenance. The goal of bylaw enforcement is voluntary compliance through education and working with property owners to assist them in understanding what is required for compliance to be achieved. Compliance has been achieved for the majority of complaints seen in 2024, with compliance forthcoming on some outstanding files. Since the hiring of the full-time bylaw enforcement officer, the municipality of Bayham has seen a significant increase in the capacity for bylaw enforcement to respond quickly and work with residents in order to achieve compliance. There has also been a significant significant decrease in files carried over from year to year, 97 in 2022 to just 16 in 2023. Statistics remain otherwise consistent with 2023, and if trends continue, complaint volumes appear to be tracking to remain even with 2023, which was 184 total complaints. Further reporting will be presented to council by way of a standard annual report in Q1 2025. That's all I have, subject to any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for that report, Stephen. Does anyone have any questions for Steve? Yes, Councilor Froese.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Stephen, so in Eden, there's 7 complaints. And I know there was an issue there, and I know the one complainant probably complained 7 times. So is it every time he calls, it's one of these marks, or is it 7 different locations type of thing?
Unfortunately, I don't have case-specific data. We track trends more broadly, but I may be able to provide that through the CAO at a later time.
I think what you're getting at, Councilor Froese, is are a lot of these complaints driven by one individual rather than several?
Yes, sir.
No, okay, I get that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the complaints come from a variety of locations. It's not just a single person. I can tell you definitively that the complaints come from a variety of sources.
All right, okay. Still, would you like that dug out a little more on the Eden one?
No, that's okay. I'm just curious. So if a person complains multiple times, I guess then it doesn't show up as numbers on here, I guess. But that's okay.
I would assume that if it's multiple complaints on the same issue, it probably only shows up as one. I would assume, but if there are several different issues,
yeah,
then it would probably show. Yeah, get your point. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from members of council? Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for that, Stephen. We have a motion that reads that report BL 0624 regarding the 2024 bylaw enforcement services mid-year report be received for information. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councilor Chilcott and Deputy Mayor Weiser, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, if I may be excused.
Yes, and good luck.
Thank you.
Moving on with item B, report PS 1124 by Ed Rollison, Manager of Capital Projects and Wastewater, and Steve Adams, Manager of Public Works, Drainage Superintendent, regarding tender award capital item number PW 24 Stewart Road Bridge. Good evening, Stephen. Double duty tonight?
Good evening. You bet. Yes, so the report before you is in regards to capital item PW 24 for the Stewart Bridge capital item. If you recall, in 2023 budget deliberations, we put forward 75,000 for some work on the Stewart Road Bridge. So Spreets, which was our municipal engineer on the job, they closed the tender June 7th and received 2 bids for the project. Theo Vandenberg and WJ Kelly Construction were the 2 bids. Theo submitted the low bid at 67,120 plus HST. This work on the bridge is considered pretty minor. This is work, not really much visible work. This is all work underneath on the abutments. A lot of delaminating, concrete, rebars, exposed rebar. So they'll be sandblasting, painting, removing all the old, and they'll be repouring new. The second component of this was the end treatments or the guardrails at this location. If you've been down there, they're in horrible shape, and they will be brought up to standards with this project. So yeah, we've worked with Theo on many projects. Stuart, Godby, and Light and Carson was the latest bridges we've done. So they've done excellent work. Have a good working relationship with them. And yeah, staff recommends moving forward with Theo Vandenbrink on the Stewart Road Bridge. Any
All right.
questions?
Thank you for that, Stephen. Does anyone have any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. You know I'm gonna ask it, Steve. What gives with the difference in cost here?
Yeah, through your worship, we always have the same We bring it back to the engineer. The engineer did warn us that chances are we might see 2 or 3 that would be over 100. To be honest, the scope of work was identified. It could be the price of the guardrails. Theo will do it himself. If I were to do it, this would probably, if I were to subcontract it, that cost would probably be my cost. If I subcontracted it out, just the guardrails. So some of these companies aren't utilize their own guardrail, their employees for their guardrails, because it does take specialized equipment. So if they bring in a third party, it could be considerable amount difference. I can't tell you the suspicious, not even gonna bother. But on what the difference is, but the engineer did review it. They had no issues with what's being done. Theo Vandenberg does have full knowledge of what needs to be done, so we're confident in the price.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Steve, with the concrete work that's being done, is there any in-water work that needs to be done?
Through you, your worship, no, there'll be no
Okay.
water over, or no work over water or in the water.
Alright.
Staff are going to, while the guardrails are down, we're gonna do a little work along the bank or along the leads getting up to the bridge just before they close it up. However, it won't be in the water.
I assume that the bridge then will be closed when it's under rehabilitation.
That's correct. They haven't identified the full extent of the closure. Spreet said a lot of the chipping job, they will probably keep it open because it'll be underneath. However, when they comes to actual repouring the concrete, they will, because they're going to take a section off. They said it can only be a matter of a couple days that it'll be. And the work, we did reach out. We think it'll probably be early to mid fall before the work gets done. It'll be between it's a small project for them. So it's going to be in between a couple jobs, and sounds like they'll be come fall. So we'll send some road closure notices out when the time comes.
All right, well, thank you very much for that. Seeing no further questions, we have a motion that reads the report PS 1124 regarding the tender award capital item number PW 24 Stewart Road Bridge be received for information. And that the council of the corporation and municipality of BAM award the Stewart Road Bridge Works to Theo Vandenberg Construction in the amount of $67,120 plus HST. Mover and sector, Councilor Chilcott and Deputy Mayor Weiser, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. Item C, report PS 1224 by Steve Adams, Manager of Public Works, Drainage Superintendent, regarding capital item number FA 04 Public Works Building HVAC and lighting upgrades. Steve, please.
Thank you. Yes, this is a little bit different. However, FA04 was for Public Works HVAC system. And we brought the lighting as the report before you. However, so the Public Works building was still utilizing an original furnace. I can't say it's original. It is from 78. We can't date it much older than that. However, we also over the years have installed tube heaters to help this furnace along, especially with the doors when they are expanded to larger doors and the in and out in the wintertime. So currently staff looked into different routes when preparing this and getting some prices on this project and looking at heat loss in the building. We reached out to multiple people about options, and so it came back to getting quote for the heating tubes and what we can do with the furnace, what we can do to zone out the shop. Currently, the main old section is all one thermostat. And currently this furnace from the 70s actually heats the whole shop plus our lunchroom, the staff main area, which is on the opposite end of the shop. So as you can believe, it has to, if we want 60 degrees in that part of the shop, the whole shop 60 degrees. And it just keeps going up from there. So the 5 tube heaters that are proposed to replace, these are between 18 and 20 years old. Most of them the tubes are corroded. 2 of them won't be able to be used this winter until they're replaced, along with the motors in them. generally do because the amount of salt that comes in off our trucks. That's about where, because we were trying to look at options to eliminate that. It's kind of tough to do in a shop like that in a tight space. So yes, Coolant Electric prepared a quote to replace 5. This includes getting rid of the old furnace, totally eliminating it. That furnace can no longer be used, or we can't even replace it with the same style because it's direct air. And it'll just be tube heaters. We'd zone in 3 different zones within the shop. So we're really aiming to lower the costs just through thermostat. However, part of this was utilizing or looking into the insulation in the building, and it's not surprising, but surprising to find out that our attic is short 30% of any insulation, and the 70% that's there is kind of thrown in bats at an R15 bat. I had 2 insulation companies come in and clarify the condition, the age of the insulation. Yes, it's original. Why they only 30%, we're not sure, or 30% was missing. However, to re-insulate the attic, it's an additional 10,700. This was a low quote from Richie's Insulation out of St. Thomas. The second component of this, which was a little bit bigger, was to spray foam the inside of the exterior walls. It's a block wall that has no insulation value to it. So it would be a very big plus. However, we're looking between $80,000 and $90,000. That's not including the cost to remove anything off the walls prior to it. And our shop is full of stuff on the walls. So there's definitely some cost there. However, we did recommend at this point, it'd be good to push forward on at least insulating the attic for the upper air loss with this. And the third component to this report was the lighting. Again, we have original lighting within the shop. I can't say original, I can say 25 years to 30 years old. I can't go date it past that. However, these are older bulbs, older ballasts, and currently we replace them constantly, and we can't upgrade without upgrading the whole fixture. So we've been looking for the last couple of years, or waiting for different grants to come through. Currently it's not a relatively huge, but it is a 17% savings to redo the 49, or we'd need 49 fixtures. They'd be LED fixtures. It'd redo all the old lighting within the shop. And that comes at the cost with the grant funding at 17,636. So that again would be suggested to utilize Coolants to install that. There currently are lighting or our electricians for all our buildings. They do know the system very well. Yeah, so that that grant is through the Save Energy discount. It's kind of a internal. Actually right now there's some home grants through that as well if people would want to look into it. He did let me know that, but very little. So yeah, so staff are with the 3 things. Staff believe at this point we wait and utilize a possible future grant for insulating the rest of the building. Definitely think it'd be a great idea down the road looking for energy savings. However, the proposed items in front of you do fit the budget, and there's some additional funding there that staff have recommended just to utilize in the facility, the Public Works Yard reserve, for the case that we get a chance for insulation upgrades or something last minute. So yeah, the report's before you. If there's any questions, be happy to help.
Thank you for that report, Steve. Any questions from council? Getting off easy. All right. Seeing no questions or concerns, the motion would read the report PS 1224 regarding capital item number FAO 04, Public Works Building HVAC and lighting upgrades capital item. And that staff be directed to complete the heating tube and lighting upgrades in the total amount of $44,136 plus HST utilizing Coolant Electric. and that staff be directed to complete the attic installation in the amount of $10,700 plus HST utilizing Ritchie's installation. And that the unused budget allocation for capital item FA04 be retained for future capital works pertaining to the public works yard. Mover and seconder. Counselor Froese and Counselor Chilcott will second. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you, Steve. Section 12, Development Services, Sustainability and Conservation, 12.1 Correspondence, and 12.11 to receive for information. Number of items. Item A, notice of passing of zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1424 Paget. B, notice of passing of zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1624 Willowhawk Farms. C, notice of public meeting regarding proposed minor variance A 1124 Deconic. D, notice of public meeting regarding proposed official plan amendment OPA 0224 1830567 Ontario Inc. E, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1524 Bergen. F, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1824. Having problems with my H's. Weeb. And item G, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1924 Giesbrecht. Any questions on any of these items? Need a mover and seconder for the following, that items 12.1.1A through G be received for information. Moved by Councilor Froese, seconded by Deputy Mayor Weiser. All in favor? Carried. 12.2, reports to council. Report DR 0924 by Steve Adams, Manager of Public Works Drainage Superintendent, regarding the second quarter drainage report. Welcome back, Steve.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, this is our second quarter report for drainage. As you know, yes, it's been a busy spring for drainage. Coming into the summertime, however, farmers got their crops up and they're growing, so everybody's happy at the moment, and drainage concerns have gone down. But throughout the second quarter, we did have we're still waiting on 4 reports from Spreets. We have not received those yet to bring forward. And the 2 we currently passed, we had Peters Drain Branch D. Construction on that's gonna be started really shortly. Contractors submitted everything, so we're gonna see that be completed. And the Eden Branch C, we have 1 out of the 3 basins installed in the ground at this time. So skipping on to maintenance, our 2 big maintenance projects that we worked on early were, one was the large culvert replacement on the deli drain, which is out on Coyle Road. That was for the value of $19,500. That was installed and completed. And the second was the Neville Drain brushing project, which was estimated at 26 and came in a couple thousand underneath that. So both went really well. The brushing was very well done and very well needed. So we're going to move forward that in additional years. And then other than that, so some small maintenance projects, nothing to report further to that. And the last was something I was trying to get the DFO out. A lot of our drains, or I should say almost all of our drains, are unclassified drains for the 5 classifications. So when it comes to maintenance timelines, it's tough to fill out and go for grant funding, as we're not classified our drains. For some reason, they've never been done. So applying to the DFO to have them come out and do it. We were successful with 3 drains. I don't know if they'll do a second study or not. However, the Schonberger Friesen and Winter drain, we did have them come out. They look at some different things, types of fish habitat, flow of the drain, and the amount of sediment within the drain. So that went well. That actually happened right at the end of June. We heard no feedback from residents. All residents adjacent to the drain were notified ahead of time that these students could be on their land. So hopefully we'll see those in the future. They'll be up on ag maps online. And, you know, for any future reference, hopefully we'll have a little bit more information and make reporting a little bit easier and up to date. So with that, if there's any questions on any of the maintenance in the report, or here to help.
Thank you very much, Steve, for that. Any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, I have a question. The drain, is it the engineering reports that seem to lengthen the time? Because is this standard that when someone petitions for a drain, like a lot of these are taking over a year before we're even seeing completion? And I know some of the drains that we do, there, you know, we go back and have revised drawings and things, so that I understand that delay, but I'm just wondering if that's across the board, a standard timeline for start to finish.
Yeah, through your worship. Yes, it is. The engineers actually have, within the Drainage Act, they have 6 months to issue the report. Obviously, it doesn't include if we send it back to the engineer or we have preliminary meetings and we have to go back. But on this, something to think about, and in the ones we have going right now, these are the 3 big drains we have are subdivision, excluding the one out that is already houses are being built. That did come in late for the subdivision. However, the other 2 or 3 that we have, those were contingent that the subdividers engineers submitted application or submitted their drawings. So their drawings have to be done before they go to Spreets, so they can figure out the drain. So there's 2, we're working together between 2 different, and it works well. Like, I mean, Spreets and the other engineers, they work well together more for the fact that they're not crisscrossing. One's not doing double duty. So hopefully, you know, this keeps flowing and we keep going. But yeah, sometimes we have to, unfortunately, they have to work together that way as well. So, but this is through each municipality.
Supplementary?
I do supplementary. And just for my personal interest, when someone calls with a complaint about sinkholes, what is your process, and does that include any engineering?
No,
Or
through your,
can you repair?
yep, through your worship, under the Drainage Act, a minor repair like that, no, we do not need engineers involved. It simply gets reported through our service request, and I act on that. I also have reporting to do through the Drainage Act, or I have to keep files on this stuff. So, obviously, it's kind of a standard, and unless it becomes a major, then we have to bring it to an engineer to look at the drain. So a lot of the times it's access to the site is the big one, especially this year.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Any additional questions? All right, seeing none. We need a mover and seconder for the following, that report DR 0924 regarding the 2024 second quarter drainage report be received for information. Moved by Councillor Chilcott, second by Deputy Mayor Weiser, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Item B, report DS. I got 30 seconds. Okay. We could probably do it. We could, yeah, but we didn't want Scott to sit here all night. Okay, we're gonna go on with report DS 5124 by Scott Sutherland, Chief Building Official regarding the second quarter building report. Good evening, Scott.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, before you is the second quarter building permit activity report. There is a chart there showing the trends for the last 3 years. It's pretty obvious, I guess, in the chart that there is a pretty good increase in number of building permits issued compared to the last 2 years. This also equates to increase in new house permits and also farm building permits. The increase in new house and farm building permits also translates to an increased permit fees and construction values as well. Q2 of this year follows a positive trend of Q1 of this year as well, showing an increase in permit fees, construction value, new house construction compared to Q1 in 2023. So yeah, everything's going on an upward trend, which is very positive. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you for that report, Scott. Any questions? Well, it is encouraging that the building activity seems to be picking up. Obviously, there is a demand out there. Okay. Seeing no further questions. Mover and seconder for the following, that staff report DS 5124 regarding the second quarter report be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Weiser, seconded by Councillor Chilcott. All in favor? And that is carried, and thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Now we'll recess from our regular meeting to go to a public planning meeting. All right. It is 7:31, and I will call this meeting to order as statutory planning meeting. It is Thursday, July the 18th, 2024. I will remind the panel of any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. The first public planning meeting is for proposed official plan amendment OPA 0224 at 55942 Maple Grove Line, 1830567 Ontario, Inc. Purpose of the official plan amendment is to add a new site-specific subsection to permit the severance of an existing single detached dwelling constructed in 2021 on the subject lands made surplus through a farm consolidation that does not conform to section 2.1.7.1 of the official plan, which requires that consents to sever and convey existing farm dwellings are to have been built and occupied a minimum of 10 years prior to the date of consent. The existing single detached dwelling to be severed as a surplus farm dwelling was constructed in 2021 to replace the previous and now demolished single detached dwelling that was no longer safe and uninhabitable. The subject lands are located at 55942 Maple Grove Line, north side and west of Sandytown Road. Is that right? Should be east. The effect of the official plan amendment will be to permit the severance of a surplus farm dwelling that was built and occupied for less than the minimum requirement of 10 years prior to the date of the consent application. At this point, I will call for any public participation. Anyone wishing to speak to this application? Please attend the podium, sign in, and
Have to press this or no?
nope, but hold, lean down to it so they can hear you.
Wonderful. All right. My name is Jesse Froze. I'm the agent on behalf of 1830 56-7 Ontario Incorporated. It's fairly straightforward as you read, Mr. Mayor. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this proposal. I will answer any questions that you might have. But besides that, yeah, I think we're good to go here.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else wishing to address this file publicly? Okay, I'm seeing none. Mark, is there any correspondence? Any other business? Which leads us to the adjournment, that the official plan amendment be considered at a future meeting of council, and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for official plan amendment OPA 0224 is now complete at 7:34 PM. Mover and seconder. Councillor Chilcott and Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? That is carried. Moving on with application B, I will call this public meeting to order at 7:35 PM. Again, remind the panel of any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. For this public meeting, we're dealing with proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1524 at 10,564 Culloden Road, Bergen. The effect of this bylaw amendment is to rezone two portions of the subject lands as a result of a severance for the creation of a new lot in zoning bylaw Z 456/2003. The proposed retained lot is to be rezoned from agricultural A1 zone to a site-specific agricultural A1 XX zone to permit a minimum lot area of 7.9 hectares, a minimum lot frontage of 20 meters, that's 65.6 feet, and a minimum side yard depth of 2.8 meters or 9.2 feet for the existing accessory building structure. The proposed severed lot is to be rezoned from holding hamlet residential HR H1 zone to an HR zone in order to remove the H1 holding provision pertaining to adequate water and sanitary servicing. The subject lands are known as 10,564 Culloden Road, east side and north of Eden Line in the hamlet of North Hall. The effect of this bylaw will be to recognize the minimum lot area and minimum lot frontage deficiency and permit a reduced minimum side yard depth from the existing accessory building structure for proposed retained lot. Further, the effect of this bylaw will be to sever the existing single detached dwelling on the proposed severed lot and remove the H1 holding provision as part of the clearing of consent conditions for Elgin Land Division Committee file number E 1824 that was conditionally approved on March the 27th, 2024. At this point, I will call for any public participation with respect to this application. Anyone wishing to speak to this particular file?
Hello, me again, Jesse Froze. I'm the agent acting on behalf of Aganita Bergen. It's fairly straightforward zoning change, but if you guys have any questions, I just want to let you know I'll be right here. Thank
Okay.
you.
Take the paper and sign in on your way through, please. Different file. Anyone else from the public wish to speak to this application? Just to confirm with the secretary, there is no correspondence and no other business. Brings us to the adjournment for this public meeting, that the zoning bylaw will be considered at a future meeting of council, and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 1524 is now complete at 7:38 PM. Mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Weiser will move, Councillor Chilcott will second, all in favor. That's carried. Which brings us to application C. I will call this public meeting to order at 7:39 PM. I will remind the panel of any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. I don't see any. This application deals with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1824 at 55309 Talbot Line, Weed. The purpose of this bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject property from hamlet residential zone to a site-specific hamlet residential zone to facilitate the development of a new accessory building and seek relief from the following provisions. Permit a maximum accessory building height of 6.1 meters, that's 20 feet, whereas section 9.5.1 of the zoning bylaw requires 4.5 meters. And permit a maximum floor area of 372 square meters, that's 4,004.2 square feet for an accessory building, whereas section 9.7 of the zoning bylaw requires 75 square meters, or 807.3 square feet, or 8% lot coverage, whichever is less. The subject property is known as 55309 Talbot Line, south side and north of Eden Line. The effect of this bylaw will be to permit a new accessory building on the subject property for a purpose of storing a boat, camping trailer, and personal belongings with a proposed maximum height of 6.1 meters, 20 feet, and a maximum floor area of 372 square meters, or 4,004.2 square feet, by way of site-specific exceptions to the current HR zone. This time, we'll open up this file to any public participation who wishes to participate. Now, please sign in and
That's a lot.
yes.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Hammond. I'm the agent representing Mr. John and Tina Weeb. The description in the notice was very precise, and yep, if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anyone else wishing to speak on this application? Again, looking to you, Mark, any correspondence? No other business? Okay. Brings us to the motion that the zoning bylaw be considered at a future meeting of council, and that pursuant to Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning by application ZBA 1824 is now complete at 7:41 p.m. Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Weiser and Councillor Froze will second. All in favor? As carried. Moving on to application D. I will call this public meeting to order at 7:42 p.m. Once more, remind the panel of any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. None noted. This deals with proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1924. That's for 11306 and 11390 Ridge Line, Geesbrake. Purpose of this bylaw amendment is to rezone two portions of the subject land as a result of surplus farm dwelling severance in zoning bylaw Z456/2003. The proposed severed lot is to be rezoned from the agricultural A1A zone to the rural residential RR zone. The proposed retained lot is to be rezoned from the A1A zone to the special agricultural A2 zone to prohibit new buildings. The subject lands are known as 11306 and 11390 Ridge Line, south side, east of Plank Road. The effect of this bylaw will be to recognize the residential nature of the newly created residential lot and to prohibit new dwellings on the retained farm parcel in accordance with the official plan. As part of the clearing of consent conditions for Elgin County Land Division Committee File number E75-23 that was conditionally approved on May the 22nd, 2024. At this point, I will ask for any public participation regarding this bylaw amendment. Please sign in. And state your name and have your say.
Hello, I am Neil Geesbrake, owner of the subject land. Straightforward.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else? Could be pretty quick. Looking to you, Marg, any correspondence? And no other business? Okay. The motion reads that zoning bylaw be considered at a future meeting of council and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 1924 is now complete at 7:44 p.m. Mover and seconder. Councillor Froze, Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thus ends the statutory planning meeting portion of the agenda. We now return to our regularly scheduled meeting. I believe we left off at item C, section 12.2, item C, report DS 5324 by Margaret Underhill, planning coordinator, deputy clerk, regarding the rezoning application ZBA 0924 Duranus at 10-122 Sandytown Road. Okay, all yours, Mark.
All right, thank
All
you, Your
thinking
Worship.
Has been all so far.
It's all about planning.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the report before you is to deal with a rezoning application from Penny and Peter Juranis. They're looking to rezone their property at 10122 Sandytown Road. And the reason for the rezoning is to satisfy a condition of their consent application, E35-24. The public meeting was held on June 20th, 24, and there was oral presentation by the appointed agent David Rowe, and there were no written public submissions. The staff report is before you, along with the planner's report, planner's memorandum actually dated April the 10th, 2024. That was presented. It was considered and supported by council when we were looking at the severance application, and that was back in May or April and granted in May, sorry. And the staff and planner have looked at the rezoning application. It does meet the policies. We do recommend approval to change the zoning on the severed parcel from special agricultural A2 to a site-specific special agricultural A2-21. And that would be to permit a minimum lot area of 18.41 hectares for an agricultural parcel, whereas it would normally be 20. So it's before you for consideration.
Thank you very much for that report. Any questions for staff? Okay, fairly straightforward. Okay, we have a motion that reads. The report DS 5324 regarding the Duranus rezoning application ZBA 0924 be received for information. And that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015. It be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held June the 20th, 2024, associated with this application, there was one oral presentation by the appointed agent and no written submissions received regarding this matter. And that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution. And that zoning bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on a property located at Part Lot 16 Concession 8, known municipally as 10-122 Sandytown Road, from Special Agricultural A2 to Site-Specific Special Agricultural A2-21 on the severed lot as a condition of consent E35-24 to permit the severance of an agricultural parcel, and that zoning bylaw Z 785/2024 be presented to council for enactment. Do I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Weiser and Councillor Chilcott. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item D, report DS 5424 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding the rezoning application of ZBA 1724 Giles at 53510 Heritage Line. Mark?
Thank you, Your Worship. This report deals with a rezoning application submitted by appointed agent David Rowe on behalf of Brian Giles. Looking again, as was stated, to rezone the property at 53510 Heritage Line. The lands are looking to be rezoned to permit the development of an additional residential unit or an ARU within a proposed detached accessory building that is 213% of the size of the principal farm dwelling, whereas section 4.2F of the zoning bylaw states that 25% is required for accessory use buildings accessory to principal farm dwellings on a subject property. The effect of passing the bylaw will facilitate the development of a proposed detached accessory building exceeding the maximum size of a non-farm accessory building for the purpose of personal storage, a workshop, and an ARU on the subject property. We held the public meeting on June the 20th with oral presentation by the appointed agent, David Rowe, and no written public submissions. So the report has the attached planner's memorandum dated July the 10th, which provides a full analysis of the application against the OP and our zoning bylaw. The owner wishes to place an ARU in the accessory building on the agricultural lands outside of the MDS 1 setback requirement of 225 meters. There is an existing livestock operation to the south. So we do have to recognize that. Further, the LPRCA have no concerns with the location as it is outside of their regulated area, and they've issued a permit to the landowner. The proposed ARU portion meets the maximum floor area requirement, so there are no concerns with respect to the ARU size. It's the overall size of the accessory building that represents minimal coverage and would not present significant impacts to any neighboring lots or surrounding area. So staff and planner concur, the rezoning application meets the policies. We recommend approval to change the zoning, and it would be changed from A1 to a site-specific A1-46. And it permits the ARU within a proposed detached accessory building that is oversized and recognized in the zoning bylaw. And I leave it with you, Your Worship, for any questions.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mark. Does anyone from council have any questions for staff on this? Looks good. Okay. And I'll read the motion. That report DS 5424 regarding the Giles rezoning application ZBA 1724 be received for information. And that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015, it be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held June the 20th, 2024, associated with this application, there was one oral presentation by the appointed agent and no written submissions received regarding this matter, and that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution. And that zoning bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on a property located in part lots 109 and 110 concession 7 NTR, known municipally as 53510 Heritage Line from agricultural A1 to site-specific agricultural A1-46 to permit the development of an additional residential unit within a proposed detached accessory building that is 213%, 371.6 square meters of the size of the principal farm dwelling, 174.5 square meters. Whereas section 4.2F of the zoning bylaw states that 25%, 43.6 square meters is required for accessory building use buildings accessory to the principal farm dwellings on the subject property. And that zoning bylaw number Z 784/2024 be presented to council for enactment. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Weisler, Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. One more. One more, she says. Item E, report DS 5524 by Margaret Henry, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk regarding subdivision agreement 1128 Properties Inc. 34T-BY 2201 Eden East subdivision. Mark, this one took up the bulk of the agenda.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, this was a numerous, well, there are numerous pages that you had to read through that were attached to this report. So I must say, I'm very pleased to present this to you tonight because this has been a long time coming. Staff and the engineers and the landowners and the legal that's been involved, we've all been working very diligently to get this to this point, to have it before you tonight. So in short, yes, we have a subdivision agreement. It's for the Eden East subdivision. It's an agreement with the municipality and 1128 Properties, Inc. They are looking to put a subdivision in Eden, and we are looking forward to it moving ahead. So the agreement, yes, it was quite a long document for you to review. We present it to you with the hope that it will meet to your approval and we can move it forward. So I will leave it with you for any questions.
Well, thank you for that. After all that effort, you kept it short.
I did. I'm not going to go on and on.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to council. Any questions? It is a lengthy document. It's quite inclusive. And this is the time to ask. I think you scared them off. To be truthful and to be honest, and just to let the gallery know that I know that there was several discussions going on prior to the beginning of the meeting. I know several questions were being asked of staff. So it's not that council hasn't reviewed this and hasn't asked the questions.
Yeah.
We've already done that.
Yeah.
But just one last chance for any member of council, if there's something that they don't understand or wish to have some clarification on, now's the proper time. Okay? Still can't tease one out. All right. Okay. The motion is relatively short.
Yes, I took it easy on you.
Thank you. Perfect. The motion reads a report DS 5524 regarding the subdivision agreement, 1128 Properties, Inc. Draft Plan of Subdivision 34T-BY 2201 be received. And that the council of the corporation of the municipality of Bayham authorizes the execution of subdivision agreement between the municipality and 1128 Properties, Inc. to permit the completion of the Eden East subdivision in 2 phases in the hamlet of Eden. And that bylaw number 2024-045 be presented for enactment. Do I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Chilcott will move, Councillor Froese will second. All in agreement, carried? There we go. Done. Congratulations.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, council.
The suspense was.
It's been too long. I had hair before. Thank you.
Well, we hope to reduce the stress, Scott.
All right, we'll see you.
Thank you.
See you.
It's 8 o'clock. Does anybody want a quick break to recharge your cup? 5 minutes? We're gonna take 5 minutes, recessing for 5 minutes. Welcome back. We left off at section 13, finance and administration, 13.1 correspondence, and 13.11 to receive for information. Wow, quite the list. Does anyone want me to read them out? No.
We've read them.
Now, it's quite a pleasure to read some of these municipal names, but is there any particular item that anyone wishes to draw attention to or speak to? Okay. I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor.
It's okay, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment on number or M, the Port Royal Marine Museum. So just a shout out to all of this great summer program. So I encourage anyone to check our website and also take a look at this programming for the children's programs, the early on and the Marine Museum. They've done an excellent job this year offering stuff for our children in the community. So I just thought that would be something to point out.
Perfect. Anyone else? Councilor Chilcott. I was busy looking at the graphics.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Deputy Mayor had to say. The Marine Museum had their first children's event, and it was dragonfly racing or something. And they had their largest number of kids out yet. And that's the first one of the year. Normally it takes the whole year for it to build up to what they've got. So good work.
How to train your dragonfly.
That's it. Dragonfly racing, same thing.
Build a brigade of dragonflies.
It's great. Just this last week.
Yeah,
Yeah. Missed it.
yeah, Tuesday.
Who lives in the lake? Well, that could be interesting too. All right.
Super good.
Yes, it is. It looks really, really enticing. Does anyone know how many kids were participating? Anyone heard?
Tuesday, there was 8 people.
Good.
8 kids, which is a lot for that museum.
Yes, it is. Perfect. Good. Seen no other takers? I need a mover and seconder for the following, that items 13.11A through M be received for information. Councilor Froese will move that. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second that. And all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. (13.2) reports to council. We have report TR 1224 by Lauren James, Treasurer, regarding the 2024 second quarter variance report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be playing the part of the treasurer tonight, as Lauren is currently somewhere in the Ohio Valley, I'm pretty sure. So this is the Q2 variance report. Attached to the report for your perusal are the year-to-dates as of June the 30th of this year for operating capital and current lending rates and GIC rates. So just a few notes from the report to note. So the first one is that with respect to operating capital budget, we are currently in line with expected levels given the cyclical nature of operations and slowing inflation, which is a good sign. We are experiencing greater operational pressure in some areas due to lower revenues in some functional areas, particularly some concern regarding tax and water wastewater arrears, which are up approximately 10% at this point in time. However, capital pressures are less than anticipated due to projects to date coming in under budget, which is good to report. With respect to some of the debt information, we do have some larger capital items that are coming up in the next few years. So some of the lending rates for operating and non-capital and capital lending rates are included strictly for information purposes, so council can see what the rates are like currently. We will need approximately $15 million in 27-28 when looking at the Port Burwell secondary transmission main. So this will give you an idea of where the rates are currently, and we expect to provide similar information as we get closer to that date so council can see where the rates are trending. Respecting investments as the next part of the report, we do have some short-term investments via GICs, approximately 5.3 million that are due upon becoming mature, either now or shortly. So we would be looking to renew those up until March 2025, unless otherwise noted. This aligns with the call of the remaining Ojibwa principal. Now, not all of this money is Ojibwa related. Some of it is restricted reserves, underwater wastewater, and some is noted care and maintenance and for the Eden Cemetery. So these have already rolled over. So what we'd be looking for council is receive for information and approve the reinvestment of the maturing GICs. Before we get to that, I'm just going to walk through a few of the items in the attachments. So for Q2 operating, we do have higher than anticipated revenues in fire services at this point in time. This is due to increase in MVC and fire billing on the part of fire services. So we're already 126% of the total 2024 budget. It's also worth noting, following the CBO's report, that we are at $106,000 and change for building service permit revenue, and that is 87% of the year. We are on pace to more than surpass the 122 projected, which is a great sign. And I believe there's planning, development, and tourism. We're at 107,000 already. We had budgeted 1015. So again, we're already over the projected 2024 budget in total. And this is evidenced by the number of reports Mark is bringing forward. So what we are seeing when decreased tax and water sewer billing realized is being offset to some degree by increases in building and planning services, which in those areas is encouraging to see. With respect to expenses, there's nothing overly detrimental to note based on the cyclical nature of operations. A lot of these are in line with what is to be expected. We received our third quarter bill for Conservation Authority in late Q2, so that's why it's included here. And also some of the expenses related to that, the source water grants have been included in the Richmond water system, which is why that expense figure looks a little bit inflated at this time. But all the other expense figures are in line with what would otherwise be expected. In regards to capital, just a couple of things to note that Pumper 1 under fire, we had originally thought we'd be taking possession of this vehicle in Q1 25. It is actually ready for delivery Q3 of this year, likely within the next couple of weeks. We do have cash on hand for this delivery and for this payment, so not concerned there. And a number of other projects noted as done have either come in slightly under budget or slightly over budget, but the net is slightly under budget, which again is encouraging to see, and great work from staff for making sure that we're in line with what council has approved through the capital budget. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll leave it with you and council for discussion, and I am available for any questions.
All right, thank you very much for that, Thomas. Does anyone have any concerns and or questions regarding the second quarter results? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. I just see we have the library washroom is ongoing now. Are we anticipating any overages or are we still on track?
That hasn't gone to tender yet.
So just to clarify, the library washroom was a little bit of work that was incurred as WIP, I believe, from last year. The library itself, the funds and the remaining funds were repurposed to the Marine Museum accessible improvements, the washroom, the doors, that sort of thing. And those again are ongoing as well. So we expect that should stabilize where it is, and the remainder of the funds would then be repurposed to the accessible washrooms. And in regards to the accessible washroom item, as far as I've been made aware, we should be going to tender for that in August. So again, we're looking at construction beginning in the fall on that item.
Anything additional?
Thank you for that. Supplementary, just a quick amendment to the report. Under the subject line, it just needs to be revised to Q2 instead of Q1.
Yes, we've got that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from anyone? All right. I think the report is a little more robust than what we're used to. I see that there's some cautionary notes, treasurers included in here, just to food for thought. Okay. There are no further questions. Then the motion would read that report TR 1224 regarding the 2024 Q2 variance report be received for information, and that staff be directed to reinvest maturing Royal Bank GICs as outlined in report TR 1224. Mover and seconder for that. Deputy Mayor Weisler will move. Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Brings us to report CAO 2824 by Thomas Thayer, CAO, regarding BAM Community Strategic Plan progress, the 2024 mid-year report. Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So following a report that council received earlier this year on the 2023 progress, we felt it prudent to bring forward a mid-year report to just summarize for council the progress that staff have been able to make so far on your community strategic plan initiatives. I'll start with everything under quality of place, which focuses on areas of core infrastructure, tourism, and strategies to attract and retain businesses. Much of these items are capital related. So we have been working with SPREED on a number of projects, including what council has seen tonight in regards to the Stewart Road Bridge and components of upgrades to heating, lighting, and insulation for the Public Works Yard. Both of these are projected to come in under budget, which is encouraging. Public Works staff have also commenced or completed road works, including works on Tollgate, acquiring survey equipment, and awarding a lawn maintenance tender to realize cost savings. And council and the Port Burwell Area Secondary System Board of Management have also received comprehensive information on the condition of the 7-kilometer stretch of the Nova Scotia line transmission main. This is currently in our capital budget as item W10. Staff continue to work diligently with Watson and Associates on financial planning for the water systems and the wastewater system, as license renewals are upcoming in August, and we do have an extension to the financial component of this through the end of the year. So we expect more information coming to council in September. The intent of these plans is that the system should be self-supporting for operating and life cycle capital needs through user fees associated with fixed and or volumetric charges. Council to date has received the first version of possible user fees and has directed some amendments be made. So these will be forthcoming back to council. Staff was advised earlier this year that its 2023 application to the DMAF program for 4 phases was unfortunately unsuccessful. So we have recommenced discussions internally and with SPREED Associates and Watson and Associates regarding options to proceed. It appears that in further discussion with some of these granting agencies, as we know, they're pushing for shovel-ready projects, so they really want engineering in place. And there is also a push from some granting agencies for climate change adaptation plans or resilience plans. It seems like some of the Infrastructure Canada programs are requiring this now as a readiness component, as our FCM, Green Municipal Fund programs as well. So we'll have more information coming to council on this within the next couple of months. So we will update you on that when we have a little bit more information. Based on the support of council and the need identified in the 2024 and 2023 capital budget, staff have made an application to the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund in April of 2024. The application is for the expansion of the Eden Pump Station. So the status of this is currently outstanding. However, we do anticipate that we should hear shortly because their deadline to start the project is late September. So there really isn't much time to get it going if we, are advised kind of late August, early September. So we're hopeful to hear on that shortly. Respecting core projects, the works at the Vienna Community Park were largely completed last fall, but they were finalized this spring with the installation of hydro servicing. Based upon the receipt of 2 reports and multiple pieces of correspondence, council has engaged in discussion regarding the lighthouse. and has provided direction for revised estimates, including costing implications for alternative cladding and associated maintenance costs. This will be coming to council the second half of this year. We are working with A-Link to procure those costs to bring back. And the hall expansion here, unfortunately, is still on hold pending notification. We're up to 15 months now, and haven't heard anything back from the MP's office on it either, who have inquired on our behalf. Regarding business attraction retention, myself and Mayor Ketchabaugh have worked closely with Elgin County and other lower tier municipalities on the completion of the initial 3 phases of the business retention and expansion program for Elgin County. A number of BAM businesses were interviewed and key data was collected to inform policy decisions going forward. We expect this will be revisited over time as well to determine if there are trends and changes in perception of various metrics that were taken into account. For quality of life focuses on passive and active services for the community, strategic growth, and environmental consciousness. So staff do continue to work on engineering and tendering for the Marine Museum accessibility upgrades. We expect tendering in August, and if that does pan out, it'd be an award in September, works commencing this fall. We were again successful, as council knows, in obtaining blue flag status for the East Beach. This was communicated to council staff and residents in the media. We did hold a flag raising on June the 8th as well, with members of council staff and the Waterfront Advisory Committee in attendance. The municipality has formally launched its official plan conformity review. Again, this is a 5-year review being led by Arcadis and planning staff. To date, we've had 1 public meeting with numerous members of council staff and the public in attendance. Comments can be provided through email at opreview@bam.on.ca. We have a dedicated webpage for this project, and residents are strongly encouraged to engage in the process and provide comment. And staff have also worked diligently on various upgrades to energy planning, part of which is legislated under OREG 2523. This would be the updated energy conservation and demand management plan, which council adopted at its June 20th meeting. This has since been submitted to the ministry in compliance with the reg, as has our annual energy reporting requirement. And finally, quality of governance. Quality of governance deals with retaining knowledge, improving services, demonstrating financial responsibility, and taking advantage of partnerships and joint ventures. So we continue to seek ways to improve communication where capacity permits. Staff and council have had discussions regarding a social media policy, and council has resolved so far to streamline the municipal assistance program and modernize the procedural bylaw. The municipal assistance policy is now in force and effect, and we have received 2 rounds of intake through it, and staff continue to work internally with direction on amendments to the procedural bylaw. Staff was able to leverage joint procurement to assist fire services, partnering with Malahide and West Elgin to jointly procure 3 tankers. This saves the municipality approximately $35,000. And it's expected that staff will continue to seek out joint procurement opportunities as a cost-saving mechanism going forward. Financially, the municipality remains in a strong and improving financial situation. So this has been the case over the last 5 years. We've seen a very solid trend, 5 years of surpluses as well, since 2020. So I guess it's 4 years. The municipality's auditor continues to provide positive feedback to staff and council about the municipality's financial position and encourages continued efforts to retire the remaining Ojibwa principal in March of next year. To support this priority of council, that staff continue to work towards bringing a survey before council in consideration of potential surplus of lands fronting on Ann Street in Vienna. Council also formally approved its 2024 operating budget with a 10.33% tax levy, and this levy does include a guarantorship loan transfer to fund the Ojibwa principal. And as of this year, we're sitting at around 2.5 million in that reserve. BAM staff continue to work towards service efficiencies in areas of shared service. So BAM and Malahide are currently hiring 4 staff. We can advise that we have a new building inspector joining us on July the 30th, and we are very encouraged by the skill set that they will bring to our service. And we are currently working through the hire of a bylaw enforcement officer, hoping to have somebody in the seat sometime late August, early September. Shared service, again, just to note, received recognition through AMCTO for innovative service delivery for its reciprocal shared service. Discussion did commence in 2023 with the county on options for a centralized planning service to be housed at the county level. This would provide planning services to interested lower tier municipalities. And since this time, the county has been successful in hiring a director of planning and development. And they have started to build out a formal planning department at the county. The CAO, mayor, and planning coordinator have met with the new director to discuss BAM's current planning arrangements and servicing and staffing levels. It's further expected that council will engage in additional discussion on this topic in the latter half of 2024. So the only other thing to note is that staff will continue to provide updates to council on a regular basis regarding the strategic plan. We expect the next one would be early 2025. And this is being done to ensure accountability to both council and the public regarding council's strategic goals and our progress. Mr. Mayor, I will leave it with you and council to discuss, and I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you very much for that report, Thomas. It always is a good idea every once in a while to have a touch back to see where we are and how we're progressing, achieving what is outlined in the strategic plan. Does anyone have any questions, any concerns? Hearing anything from the public, anything getting left behind? Excuse me. Hearing none, we have a motion that reads report CAO 2824 regarding BAM Community Strategic Plan progress. The 2024 mid-year report be received for information. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Chilcott will move. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? And that is carried. Brings us to item C, report CAO 2924 by Thomas Thayer. CAO regarding the 2024 to 2034 Canada Community Building Fund Municipal Funding Agreement. This report is almost as long as the, the subdivision. It's the agreement. It's lengthy. Please, Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is fairly straightforward, unlike the agreement, which is far longer. So the Canada Community Building Fund is a stable, predictable, and index source of funding that flows from the federal government through AMO to municipalities in Ontario. It allows local communities to make strategic investments in essential infrastructure, roads and bridges, transit, drinking water, wastewater, and recreational facilities. So just to clarify that this fund is actually the former gas tax revenue. So if there are residents out there, if council has any questions about how this is going to be allocated, it has already been allocated. It is in our capital budget and has been allocated to a lot of the roads and public works items already. So in June, we received our renewed municipal funding agreement for a 10-year period through AMO as the administering entity for Ontario. BAM is slated to receive between $220,000 and $240,000 per year between 24 and 28 through this fund. However, to access the fund, the MFA must be authorized by bylaw and remitted to AMO prior to any receipt. So the motion before council is to receive this for information, authorize the municipal funding agreement with AMO, and adopt by bylaw so we can remit it. And I will be doing that later tonight should council ultimately authorize the bylaw and agreement. I'll leave it with you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Thomas, for that. Does anyone have any concerns? Anyone want to go line by line through the agreement? Okay. Okay. Finding no appetite for that, we have a motion to read that report CAO 2924 regarding the 2024-2034 Canada Community Building Fund Municipal Funding Agreement be received for information. And that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of BAM authorize a municipal funding agreement between the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, for the 2024 to 2034 Canada Community Building Fund. and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration. I have a mover and seconder for that. Councilor Froze will move. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? And that is carried. I'm sorry, Tom, so enthralled in the report, but did you happen to mention what the annual allocation is for right now?
I would have to confirm the number, but I'm pretty sure it's around $228,000, and I think it increases to about 244 by 2028.
My understanding too. Just putting it out there for the public. All right, that brings us to item D, which is report CAO 3024 by Thomas Thayer, CAO, regarding amendments to site plan agreement Chesterman Leasing Inc. at 14493 Bayham Drive, SPA 0224.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an information report because it is site plan and delegated authority to the CAO. We did receive a site plan application submitted by Grassmere Construction on behalf of Chesterman Leasing Incorporated in March of this year. It was deemed complete by staff on June the 7th, and this applies to an existing site plan agreement, which was approved by bylaw 2006-066. It is an agreement number 832 in our files. The amendment is very small. It is to construct a covered canopy of 210 square meters at the front of the existing building, which is considered an increase in floor area, which necessitates site plan. No proposed changes to the parking lot or surface water drainage. The only comments received were from the MTO, circulated as this is on Highway 3. They did not object to the proposed addition, but do require a building and land use permit. And they also noted that the existing entrance on Bayham Drive is set back approximately 25 meters. So this is currently deficient of their setback requirements. They note that any further expansion or intensification of the site will require the entrance to be relocated, but that is not an issue at this time. So staff have gone through an internal review as we usually do with the complete application, noting no specific concerns with respect to municipal policies and practices. Therefore, the amending agreement was executed by all parties on July the 3rd of this year. And as the CAO is delegated authority, this is provided for information purposes only. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll leave it with you.
All right, thank you very much for that report. Does anyone have any questions? Concerns? All right, the motion will read the report CAO 3024 regarding the amendment to site plan agreement Chesterman Leasing Inc. at 14493 Bayham Drive, Bayham, application number SPA 0224 be received for information. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Froze. Councilor Chilcott. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to section 14, the bylaws. Five bylaws. We have number A, bylaw number 2024-044. It's a bylaw to authorize the execution of agreement between the municipality of Bayham and AMO for the Canada Community Building Fund. Bylaw number 2024-045, bylaw to authorize the signing of a subdivision agreement between 1128 Properties, Inc. and the municipality of Bayham. Provide for the development of a plan of subdivision known as the Eden East subdivision. Bylaw number 2024-046, being a bylaw prescribing the speed limit for a portion of Chute Line. Bylaw number Z784, 2024, a bylaw to amend bylaw Z456, 2003 as amended. And bylaw number Z785, 2024, a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z456, 2023 as amended. Uranus. Any questions on any of these bylaws? And a mover and seconder for the following. That bylaws number 2024-044, 2024-045, 2024-046, Z784, 2024, and Z785, 2024 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Mover and seconder. Councilor Chilcott. Deputy Mayor Weiser. All in favor? That is carried. Brings us down to section 17, the confirming bylaw. Mover and seconder for the following, that confirming bylaw number 2024-047 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Deputy Mayor Weiser. And Counselor Chilcott will second. All in favor? Which brings us to the adjournment, the Dan Froze adjournment motion. That the council meeting be adjourned at 8:37 PM. Moved by Dan Froze, Counselor Froze, and seconded by Counselor Chilcott. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you all. There was a lot of material covered this evening, a lot of it very interesting and informative. Thank you for those who attended in the gallery and those who attended virtually. Have a pleasant evening. We'll see you in August.